Absolutely. It is so cool, and we're so thankful that they did that for us
Millions
today.
of dollars, and Brian asked if it can be in his office for the rest of the year.
But Geraldo, I tried it.
Good morning.
And I was terrible. Were you able to adapt to it?
I was perfect.
Because you are good at just about, you are a man of action.
Well, I don't know about that. I did own a helicopter for many years.
And you stayed in the Holiday Inn last night.
Yes, and I stayed Holiday Inn last night. No, the F-35 is our most advanced fighter. It's a wonderful aircraft. There were all the scandals about the cost overruns and whether it was underpowered. And it was great speaking with our brave men and women of the Air Force outside and asking them, off the record, how good is this airplane? They said it's 8 years ahead of anything that the Russians or the Chinese could throw at us. So that says a lot. It is a dominant stealth. You can't see it on radar. So and it's fascinating. Those simulators are fascinating.
Absolutely. Of course, during his first 100 days, President Trump made it very clear he wants to build up the military. Today is day 99, and the White House got some bad news last night from Kevin McCarthy, the House Majority Leader. He said, you know what, we were hoping maybe we could have a vote on the repeal and replacement of Obamacare in the first 100 days. Not going to happen this week. So the Republicans not able to help the president.
Well, let me start with the F-35 and go to that. On the F-35, when I met with the president-elect the day before inauguration in his New York office just before he was heading down to Washington, he told me, aside from the fact that he was stomping Arnold Schwarzenegger in the ratings for Celebrity Apprentice, he also said how he had personally carved something like $800 million off the tab of the F-35, so that was really a great step. In terms of Obamacare and the repeal and replace, when you think of how many times the GOP voted to repeal and replace Obamacare, I think it was more than that when you add up all. Yeah, it was more like 70. And to then not have a bill ready that they had, conferenced and committeed and had a consensus on, to not have a bill ready is the most glaring act of political misfeasance, nonfeasance that ever happened. And for them to then screw President Trump, the Freedom Caucus, when it came down to the votes, at the 11th hour, to leave him out there exposed, to desert their own president, I think that he really has quite a beef with Paul Ryan. I guess did what he does as Speaker of the House ineffectively, in my view, when it comes to Obamacare, certainly. And I don't think that we're going to see a Republican repeal.
You don't. You don't think either? They said it could come next week. And here's the thing, Geraldo, I agree with everything you said. However,
I think what if it's
a bad plan? What if the Freedom Caucus was right? And now that 80% of them have come along to the new plan, the moderates have now dropped off. So maybe the Freedom Caucus got the perfect conservative plan, but the moderates don't like the perfect conservative plan, and the president wants some plan. So maybe the three can't meet.
One of the great things about my 16 years at Fox is it shows that you can be a Republican and not necessarily be a conservative. That's the old style of the way political parties were defined. Every party had a liberal, a moderate, and a conservative wing. You have to compromise. You can't compromise in public. If you're going to be in effect like Tip O'Neill. They used to schmooze and make deals and go in there, and come forward. I don't know that there is a compromise between those who absolutely oppose socialized medicine in any form, however modest, and those who believe that every American deserves to have the health care that he or she needs. I think that there must be some middle ground that's to the right of where Obamacare is, but to the left of the Freedom Caucus that denies pre-existing conditions, for example.
Well, they got to do something because it's imploding.
Or hiking the health care differential between elderly, sick people and young, healthy people by 5 times.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a way. I bet we could sit down again.
They have to think about, if you looked at, we read some of the CBO report, and it was very expensive. For someone that was making like $24,000, half their paycheck was going to have to go to health care. So that's what they were trying to change. They were trying to come to a compromise. But it's almost making the American people so angry at Congress, at those GOP members that aren't on board with Donald Trump.
Could cost him the House.
But my problem with that, Ainsley, is that How do you go 7.5 years and then suddenly say, oh my God, did anyone think of that?
I agree with you.
You know,
They never thought it.
What happens the day after you
We heard
repeal?
during the election, during the process, during the campaign, we heard the Republicans all say, oh, we've got a plan. No, we don't have a plan. We have a lot of plans. Well, as it turns out, they couldn't get on the same page for a plan.
But how can that be if the Republican Party is the party of good business, of sound practices, of fiscal responsibility? How can you go so long and lead people on so dramatically, and then at the end of it come up with nothing?
You know what's frustrating? That it does take so long. The president says, this is what I want to do. The American people says, this is what I want to do. In Congress, it takes so long to get anything through. And here we are at 100 days, and people were hoping this repeal and replace would have happened. And they took 2 weeks off at Easter. They're going to take time off at the summer. When is all this going to happen?
Well, I think that the president should have had a more modest agenda for the first 100 days. I think that there were mistakes made. What I do like, let me say what I think President Trump is, in recent weeks, has really steered a course that's much more favorable to his prospects and to the way people will regard him. What you're beginning to see, for example, we saw a clip from Rex Tillerson. If you've never heard Rex Tillerson speak, you're thinking, ExxonMobil, big business, greasy, pocket liner or whatever. When you hear him speak, you say, my, this guy's experienced. This guy's intelligent. This guy is really a very deeply impressive person.
He understands the world.
He understands the world. He's been there. I think that the president now should put forth this team he has assembled.
But don't you think he has, Geraldo? Look at who did the presentation on North Korea to the 100 senators.
Right, but that
was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Secretary of Defense.
Right.
Look who rolled out the tax reform. Mnuchin and,
Terrific.
And look at the border, DHS Secretary, General Kelly.
I think that what he has been doing in the recent week and a half, 2 weeks, is exactly that. He's showing how deep the bench is, how deeply impressive his selections were, and he picked them, every one of them.
Sure.
And I think he needs to do more of that.
He's got an all-star cabinet, and Gorsuch was great. Meanwhile, let's
Gorsuch also great.
We wanted to talk to you about what happened out at Berkeley. Ann Coulter denied speaking because initially she signed a contract, everything was fine, and then suddenly the police and the administration said, we can't keep you safe. The organization that sponsored her pulled out, and then at the 11th hour, she said, I can't go.
The last time I was on the Berkeley campus for something academically related was when my oldest child, Gabriel, was accepted there. He was accepted at NYU and at Berkeley. So he wanted to tour it. I was already obviously on TV.
Very conservative.
I was but I was already deeply on TV, so easily recognizable. I walked that campus, and I can't tell you how many snotty little rich kids. Hey, nice mustache. Hey, where'd you get those bell-bottom pants? Or whatever. It is an effete bubble where traditionally free speech has been an issue of the left, where the left was saying that anyone should be allowed to say anything. Only now you have this, I don't use words like liberal fascism or things of that nature, or alt,
but you're thinking
or
about
alt left. But I do think that the process of denying someone the ability to speak to a group that has asked her to come because you are offended by what she or he has to say is so anti-intellectual. It is so antithetical to what the institution stands for, to what college should be, that it really is a deep humiliation.
How do you feel about this Wisconsin law that's going to be passed that will expel students for preventing speakers like Ann Coulter from speaking?
Students who try their best to...
Yeah.
I think that, first of all, that disruption borders on criminal behavior, and that line was crossed at Berkeley, as it has been crossed previously in Madison and the University of Wisconsin and other places. I think you got to crack down. When they put the mask on, first of all, I think wearing a mask at a demonstration should be a crime in and of itself.
Sure, exactly.
It should be a misdemeanor, because why are you wearing the mask? It's so you can perpetrate violence. The day of the inauguration, back to that, you had like 50, 100, 150 thugs who absolutely tried their best to disrupt the inauguration day. They were breaking windows and so forth, all masked, helmeted and masked. Once you do that, once you don the mask of anonymity
in D.C.
They arrested quite a few. I should have followed up before this morning on how many were actually
convicted.
convicted.
Yale, this cracks me up. You got to read this article. Grad students at Yale are beginning a symbolic hunger strike, which means you only eat when you're hungry. One journalist said, I eat when I'm hungry too, but I don't call it a hunger strike.
That's my kind of hunger strike.
And it's a symbolic, a collective fast. It's a symbolic hunger strike.
They sit around and have Dexatrim to curb the appetite.
Well, you know, when Yale changed the name of Calhoun College, I was a fellow there. I resigned because I thought that they were being so politically correct. They took the name of the Southern senator off the college where it had been for over 100 because he was a pro-slavery in the 19th century, as was George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, all the founding fathers, and every just go through the Jackson. You go through all of the pre-Civil War legislators. So I think that political correctness and the symbolic hunger strike. This particular example of the symbolic hunger strike is everything wrong with the millennial generation's activism.
They can't even pull off a hunger strike.
It's activism without any kind of cost. It's activism without any sacrifice. How about activism without price?
No smoothie protest. No smoothies for a week until things change around here.
Before you go, people are hanging on the question: where did your son wind up going to college?
NYU.
Okay. All right, Geraldo, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, coming up on this Friday, President Trump is doing something today no other president since Ronald Reagan has done. A live report on that coming up next.
And breaking news, we just found out something